This is Blue Gold News Now, your spot for current events, campus news, and everything in between. Now, live from Tower's basement, it's BNN with our hosts Alex Rubio and Marissa Day.
Good evening, I'm Alex Rubio.
And I'm Marissa Day.
Coming up tonight, a Blue Gold entrepreneur faces legal troubles.
But first, the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire was once again ranked among the most environmentally responsible colleges. Every year, the Princeton Review Guide to Green Colleges honors several colleges and universities based on their initiatives taken in both sustainability and commitment to the environment. This is the 10th overall time and 4th consecutive year that UW-Eau Claire has made the Princeton rankings among 522 other colleges and universities, nationally and internationally. In the past few years, UWEC has expanded its climate and environment initiatives and even added the option of a sustainability certificate to their list of academic programs. The consistent ranking among top climate-conscious universities globally only further proves that the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire is staying true to their climate-friendly promises, and that the hard work of UWEC staff and students is paying off.
Alternate side parking begins on November 1st and runs until April 1st. So if you are parking on the streets, ensure that you are paying attention to these instructions. On odd-numbered days, cars should all be parked on the street side with odd-numbered addresses. Conversely, on even-numbered days, all cars should be parked on the side of the street with even-numbered addresses. This law allows for our hard-working snowplow drivers to clear the snow from the streets more efficiently, as well as providing buses and emergency vehicles a clear side to drive on. Tickets for parking on the wrong side of the road can be up to $30, so make sure to make the lives of road workers and emergency responders a bit easier while saving some of that cold hard cash during these cold winter days by following the alternate side parking starting on November 1st and running until April 1st.
Coming up after this break, we hear from BNN reporter Connor Casper and his story about a student-owned business.
Stay tuned. Tonight we have the inspiring story of a UWEC student turned entrepreneur who is now facing challenges and renovating his brand to stay relevant.
BNN reporter Connor Casper has the story.
Thanks, Alex and Marissa. I talked with Ethan Van Grunsven, the founder of Scony, who described the recent copyright issues that his company has faced. Ethan first founded his brand, formerly known as Scony, to fill a niche in the clothing industry here in Eau Claire. His company designs and produces hand-cut flannel-themed and embroider apparel. He is the first student-owned business to be sold here in the campus bookstore in UWEC. His idea first came from seeing students wearing Minnesota merch, SOTA, representing their state. He came up with the new business idea with the goal of providing Wisconsinites with apparel that represents their state pride. To date, he has sold over 1,700 products. However, lately, Scony has come into some legal trouble. A lawsuit was filed against Ethan's company over trademark infringement by another business owner who had trademarked the name Scony, spelled S-C-O-N-N-I-E, whereas Ethan's company's name was spelled S-C-O-N-N-Y. Even with the spelling difference, the use of the name Scony still infringed on the existing company's copyright. As of today, no settlement has been reached, but Ethan is still trying to continue his business without infringing upon the other existing company.
I'm the first UW-Eau Claire student to start a business and then have their products sold right here in the bookstore at UW-Eau Claire, so that's really cool. But overall, it's been great and it's been really fun.
This is a great example of how students can bring an idea to life and even make success around Eau Claire. Back to you, Alex and Marissa.
Thanks, Connor.
Well, what a story. Blue Gold's getting down to business.
Exactly. And just like, honestly, just a business like being made by a UWEC student, that's so exciting for him that he was able to just take everything that he learned in college and then run with it and just make something new out of it, honestly.
Well, right, and what an exciting opportunity to even be able to sell his things in our campus bookstore.
Right out of the bookstore. Like, you can buy things straight from a UWEC student right at UWEC.
It's amazing.
It is, honestly.
But
it's so nice to see them shine
How
through.
wild that there's already, trouble in paradise. I mean,
Exactly.
he's got this awesome new brand, right? And then copyright issues.
Right off the bat, like, talk about a trial by fire.
Exactly.
Honestly, I think it shows that UWC students and college students in general are resilient. We'll make the best out of the bad situations that we have.
Exactly, and get some real world experience, for better or for worse, right here, right now.
And it's really nice to see Blue Gold shine through, I suppose.
Exactly, and speaking of Blue Gold shining, this Thursday, the Blue Gold Marching Band will have their penultimate performance of the season on stage at the Pablo Center at the Confluence. After a season full of football halftime performances, travel across the Midwest, and the Youth in Music Marching Band competition at US Bank Stadium, the BMB is winding down for 2 final performances this week, ending their season at Carson Park on Saturday, November 4th. The concert at the Pablo Center will feature selections from their season repertoire, including an Elton John medley, Welcome to the Black Parade, and more. To purchase tickets for the indoor concert, check out pablocenter.org.
A new record store had its grand opening this Saturday. Abraxas Wax opened up on Graham Street with a variety of CDs, cassettes, VHSs, and of course, vinyls for the community of Eau Claire to enjoy. The owner of the store, Seth Larson, says he was inspired to open this store after seeing many stores like these while traveling abroad, says WQOW. Excitement and energy can be felt around the store Abraxas Wax as it gets on its feet. Eau Claire welcomes Abraxas Wax to the community, and if you're looking for some new or old tracks to play as a gift to yourself or others, check out Abraxas Wax on Graham Avenue from Wednesday to Sunday. Store.
Absolutely.
It's exciting. Do you have any records at home?
I do, yeah. I don't have my record player with me here in Eau Claire just because I don't have a ton of space for it in a dorm room. But at home, I love to play my vinyls. I have a couple. I have the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 mixtape.
Nice, that's great.
Which is iconic. It's so fun. There's some good tracks on there, but my favorite is probably my Gene Autry Christmas vinyl.
Listening to Christmas on like vinyl is like, that's very classic. Like I can imagine it right now playing while like, you're like making some cookies or something or decorating.
Exactly, decorating the house.
Exactly, and getting ready for Christmas. I have one vinyl and it's Imagine Dragons, not surprisingly.
As it would be.
But I have the record, but I don't have a record player. So I kind of just am like, what do I do with this? I guess I'll just hold on to it and keep the collection.
Keep it for display, exactly. That's awesome.
Well, I think that's all we have for that, but BNN will return with more information about the upcoming African dinner.
And more after this short break.
This weekend, the African Student Association is hosting an event in the Ojibwa Ballroom. On November 4th from 5:30 to 7:30, the group's annual African dinner called African's Future will be in full swing.
The African Dinner is an opportunity for anyone at UW Eau Claire to experience a night of African culture and spend time getting to connect with the African Student Association. The night's festivities will include a home-cooked meal, a fashion show, games and prizes, and more. Godwin Abara, the president of the African Student Association, explained what exactly guests can expect at the event.
So African Dinner, it's an event that we do every year. It's annual, it's a community event, and it's just kind of a way for our organization to show people the culture that is in Africa. So we have a lot of African food. We have a fashion show that shows off all the cultural wear from there. We have games like African trivia, like an African bingo that we have going on for this year. So it's just kind of a way to introduce people to the culture and kind of show that we're here, that there is a presence on campus.
Godwin also added that ASA plans to have a musical performance and possibly dancers for the evening. The event is open to both students and the Eau Claire community. You can buy tickets online by visiting uwec.universitytickets.com.
Coming up next, we have our weather forecast by Nikki Wasted and Ellie Ulberg.
Stick around.
Thanks, Alex and Marissa. Good evening. I'm Nikki Wasted, returning this Wednesday night with your weather forecast. Today's temperature in Eau Claire stayed right around 35 degrees. Blue Golds, if you haven't already, break out the winter jackets, hats, and mittens because chilly conditions continue into the future. As you can see, temperatures remain similar around the Eau Claire area and surrounding areas. We see Minneapolis at 42 degrees and Bloomington at 43, while Lake City remains at 41, Menominee at 43, and Chippewa Falls at 42. And as you can see, Eau Claire remains around 43 degrees. Red Wing at 44 degrees as well. Looking forward to the next 7 days, we see some partly sunny conditions for today, tomorrow, and Friday. The rest of the week could lead to some rain on Sunday and Monday and potentially snow on Tuesday. When it comes to the temperature for these next 7 days, it looks to be a little on the cooler side, staying within the upper 40s, starting today, lasting until Tuesday, and then we see it continuing to get cooler. Step aside fall, as it seems weather's in the driver's seat in Eau Claire and the surrounding areas. Thank you so much for joining me again for this weather segment this evening. I'm Nikki Wasted. Back to you, Alex and Marissa.
Thanks, Nikki. Coming up after this break, Epilogue is back with some of our favorite new books.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone, to BNN. This week on Epilogue, we're taking a look at some of our favorite new books. First up is my favorite new release, Percy Jackson and the Chalice of Gods. After saving the world multiple times, Percy Jackson is hoping to have a normal senior year. Unfortunately, the gods aren't quite done with him. Percy will have to fulfill 3 quests in order to get the necessary letters of recommendation for Mount Olympus for college. So this is actually a relatively new release in the Percy Jackson franchise, and it had like little to no kind of like publicity around it, at least from what I saw.
Really?
Yeah. And it was kind of crazy because like Percy Jackson returning with another new book, like it was a huge franchise back in like early like middle school for me. So seeing like nothing about it was kind of crazy. But I haven't finished it quite yet, but it pulls you like right back into that feeling of you know, that old feeling of like getting a new book and wanting to like read through the entire thing.
Absolutely, I do.
Yeah, I grabbed it like the first night it was, and I went over to like one of the kitchens and kind of just like turned the lights on low, and I kind of just sat next to the window and was reading a book. Do you have any like experiences with that? With, like, reading
absolutely.
books?
It's funny because that's basically what we're going to talk about with my book.
Yeah, just like that feeling, you know?
I totally know that feeling. Well, and it's like you sit down and you're like, okay, I'm only going to read a couple of pages, and then you get into it and you're flipping pages, and suddenly you're at page 300 and you're like, oh my gosh, what happened?
And then you fall asleep with it, like just like
it's
at
like
night.
It's like on your face.
It's the blanket for your face. But no, so far this seems like a very interesting add-on to the Percy Jackson series. It has like the exact same feeling of Percy just having to like jump into some new quests and get like an exciting new look into how Percy's doing after like the main series.
Right.
It's just this one is him trying to get into college, and we all know that pain. So
absolutely, it's almost Spider-Man-like. You know?
Exactly.
It's like,
and that's a very good point. It's kind of like got that like Peter Parker like super busy and trying to like move on.
You know,
and get to the
normal
next
life,
part.
but also like
having,
literally
like,
saving the world.
Yeah, and having those like those like superpowers and responsibility.
Exactly.
And I think that's what's always interested me about the Percy Jackson series, and I think you nailed it with like the Spider-Man bit. But yeah, no, it's a very interesting book. I would recommend checking it out if you have the time.
Absolutely.
I got it at the Books A Million here in town, so
Gotcha.
it's such a good book, and that art, love it.
It's
Pulls you right back
fantastic.
in.
It really does look like a great cover.
Exactly. Another great cover from Rick Riordan. So.
Indeed, indeed.
But I think we have your favorite book coming
We
up.
do indeed. Next up, we have my favorite recent read, A Curse for True Love, the conclusion to Stephanie Garber's Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. In A Curse for True Love, our protagonist, Evangeline Fox, is once again caught up in a love triangle, all too likely to turn deadly. In the end, will Evangeline find her happily ever after, or lose it all? May the best villain win. Stephanie Garber has that awesome tagline on all of her books and all of her merchandise that says, may the best villain win. And really, I fell in love with this series. Now, this is the second series by New York Times bestselling author Stephanie Garber, one of my favorites, if not my very favorite. Her first series is the Caraval series, which ends in finale. And it's a fantastic addition to that sort of Caraval cinematic universe, as it were, not to make a lot of Marvel puns, right? Spider-Man and now cinematic universe.
Apparently we have Marvel in the mind.
Right? Apparently we do. But I really like how this story takes a character from, or several characters from the Caraval universe and puts them into a whole new story. Like you're talking about, reading nonstop on these books. It's been probably a week since I got it. I ordered it pre-order and I picked it up I think last Thursday. So less than a week. And I have 40 pages left.
What is with the feeling of like getting a new book and just being like, well, I gotta finish this now. It's gotta be done.
Reading this under the covers, I'm like, do I dare pull this out during one of my lectures? Like that's
like
the
same
sort of
thing.
feeling I have.
It's like with movies you can pause them, but with books it's like you just want to get to the end because
Yes.
it's like you don't have that like that satisfaction of the completionist principle until you've like gone
Absolutely.
all the way through the entire book.
Well, and I'm in the home stretch here. I've got 40 more pages of a 350 some page book. So I'm like ready for it to like go sideways or do exactly what I want it to do. And
Take
it
the
makes
twist,
me
yeah.
so nervous.
Yeah. It's always fun to like be like expecting those twists a little bit and
Right.
like waiting for them, and then it's like if they do or don't, and kind of like what you were saying there. for the
Exactly. Well,
description.
and it's so interesting because, it's a love triangle, but both of the love interests of the main character are sort of villainous. One of them is like this mysterious prince with questionable motives, and he is about to make a terrible decision. And you're kind of watching him devolve into madness almost, into like this dangerous place where he's like walking the lines of good and evil. Whereas the other character is like this ruthless god who kind of like, not a god, but like a demigod type character, and like very powerful being who has all of these different things, motivations to not like Evangeline, but he ends up falling for her anyways. And it just, like, I don't know who I want to win, because neither of them are really human, but they're also so human at the same time. And there's a really like specific motivation for each of them, but one is more of a hidden motivation, and the other is very obvious.
And well, the thing that I was like immediately noticing is that like you don't a lot of times see stories that spotlight villains.
It's
so
true.
it's kind of interesting to see these kinds of stories. And one of the best things about spotlighting villains in stories is that you can sometimes show some of the more humanistic traits that they have, showing that they are people underneath it all. But sometimes it's the scars of their past or tragedy that has inflicted and turned them into the villains.
Exactly.
So getting a peek behind the curtain of not just like, oh, I'm a bad guy, but also seeing a little bit more into them is sometimes an interesting story. So it sounds very interesting. I might have to get the link afterwards to pick it up.
Just make sure you start with the first book.
Of course, you got to start with the first one.
Well, awesome.
I think that's all we have for BNN tonight. But thank you for joining us on Epilogue this week.
But we aren't quite done with BNN just yet. Join us right after this break for the return of BNN TalkBack.
Finally, for tonight, we have BNN TalkBack returning.
On TalkBack, we're going to gain further insight into some of our reporters' experiences, as well as deep dive interviews.
Tonight, we have on the studio Jet Sherry joining us. Welcome to the show, Jet.
Thanks for having me.
So we're just going to be kind of talking a little bit about your experience as a BNN reporter and everything like that. I think we have maybe an interesting story that you might be wanting to share.
Yeah, so I've only done one story that's coming out. Look forward to that. But basically, it was at the Marshfield Clinic. They did like a prescription drug take-back day, and so that was put on by like the Eau Claire City County Health Department. And so I went out there on that day, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this shot. It was early morning. It was just when it started getting cold, and this was like a month after training. So I kind of forgot how to use the camera good.
Ooh.
And so I'm figuring that out in real time while also being really cold. And then I finally got it, and they had this sign they put up right in front of like the entrance to the parking lot. And so I'm like, I'm gonna get this great like shot, sign there, get it low angle up so you can see the sign, and then Marshfield Clinic in the background. I'm like, oh, chef's kiss, all right.
Perfect.
And then I'm doing it, and a car drives through the shot, and I'm like, that's okay. That's like action. That's someone showing up to this. And then I play the footage back. Car has on the side of it WEAU. It was another like news station showing up, but I'm like, can I put that in there? That feels weird to like have another one in there. So like when I'm editing it, I didn't put that one in there, and I waited for another car to show up. But I was just like, I'm like, that was weird. And then also there's another point where I was taking a shot of the doors, and then they came out and took a shot from the doors. So we were like videotaping each other. I'm like, what's going on?
We had some like camera on camera battling there. Apparently.
I know.
I love that. That's hilarious.
I know. And then like I talked to him for a little bit, and it was great running into him. But I was just like, I was so thrown. I'm like, whoa, like I don't know like how to approach this. Like
you were in the field with other reporters. That's actually pretty exciting.
That's really cool. Well, and that's kind of how you've got a good story is when you run into another news network trying to take some footage of the same thing. Well, and how fun, a lot of TV10 alum have gone in to work with WEAU and WQOW in the community.
Pomerleau, yeah.
Ellie Pomerleau from last semester, she's awesome. Among other reporters, so it's really fun to see other news networks out and about. It's really fun.
No, and I think it's really cool that for your first story, you took the camera, you took it all, and you just got into a car and drove off the the campus for your first story. It almost had to be kind of exciting getting everything ready and going out.
It was a little, I don't know, it was one of those things where I'm a big advocate for if you don't care about it, you shouldn't do it. And so I was kind of like, do I do this story about the Marshfield Clinic thing that I'm pretty interested in, or do I find another story that might not attract me in the same way? And so I'm like, well, go big or go home. And then so I'm like grabbing all these bags and like running out to the parking lot at like 8 a.m. or whatever.
I love it.
And then so I don't know, I thought it turned out pretty well. We'll see when we actually run it, but it was like, I don't know. It kind of all played out as best as it could have. And so I'm like, yeah, it all worked out. And I there's some passion into it. And I kind of feel like that's, if you don't like it, don't do it.
It's always better to go with what you're passionate about rather than going for a story that you might not want to. I remember texting back and forth a little bit and talking about which story you wanted to go for, and I was like, you know what, it's up to you what you feel more comfortable with. But hey, if you want to go for that story off campus, go for it. Might as well just take big leaps for your first story and just go for it.
Well, and how exciting too, like we said, we talk about field experience, but really
literally
what we love about BNN, I think I speak for Alex and I and several of our reporters, is being able to write about and film what you love. Alex and I have Epilogue, and it's been super awesome so far to be able to talk about books and media that we love, but also we find stories every week that we're interested in and that really catch our eye. It's been really exciting to kind of see all of our reporters like you, Jet, being able to go out and write about what they love and being able to explore news in a setting that we're able to provide for them.
Yeah, and I think again, I speak for Marissa and myself when we say we hope you enjoyed the experience and had some fun out there, even with running around with all the bags and getting shots that you might not be able to use. It must have been still a little exciting to kind of get out there into the actual field and film like a real reporter would. So,
I mean, the way I look at it is kind of no matter how bad it goes, you get a good story out of it. So I'm like, I got a good story. And I got a good news story, so
exactly.
It worked out pretty well.
You got 2 for 1.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Well, thank you for sharing your story with us tonight.
Yeah, for sitting down with us.
Yeah, sitting down on BNN TalkBack, and can't wait to hear more stories from you. Hopefully coming up soon. But I think that's all we have for BNN tonight.
It is. That is all we have for you tonight.
Join us next week for your latest news, updates, and weather.
Make sure to check out TV10 on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. I'm Marissa Day.
And I'm Alex Rubio. Thank you, and good night.